So here's my final for broad lighting. Basically, I've got the flash at 1/2 power. It's bouncing off this big white card. There's probably a little bit bouncing off the window too. I put two long, narrow white cards in the ceiling here just to drop the ceiling a little bit lower because I don't think I was getting enough bounce to fill in some shadow. And I put a fill card here. It's mainly getting light from here that's bouncing in, but probably a little bit of flash as well. So now the broad side is this side of the face here. That's the dominant side towards the camera. Short lighting was rather difficult to do with a flash in the hot shoe of the camera because really you gotta have the main away from the camera lens. So what I had to do was figure out a way to get this light to bounce off something over here more on this side of my face and have the lens a little bit more on this side of my face. So I have a big fill card over here, but this is really my main. So then the small part of my face gets lit up brighter, and the darker part of my face is just a nice fill from the window and a little bit of flash probably as well. So here's my final setup for glamour. So I've got that camera with the flash directly on, a little diffusion on the flash. I've got that white card behind, and then I put a big old piece of white foam core in front, and I'm gonna stand right there next to that part of the scene. And then I've got from behind, you can see all the light coming in there. So I'm gonna stand like right here next to the white card so that I got as much reflection coming up on me as possible. And that way I can do my glamour here. So essentially I've got, oops, I gotta be careful with it. But essentially I've got the white card being my main, and it's also getting a little bit of light bouncing around and hitting here. So my final setup for butterfly was that I replaced the card that was behind the flash with this little 3x5, or maybe it's actually 5x7 I think. This 5x7 piece of photo printer paper that's highly reflective. And that gave me a smaller light source so I could get more contrast, more shadow on the cheekbones and get the shadow underneath the nose. So that helped me out a lot. And I have that at 1/4 power on the flash. Still using a 160 on the seek speed and using ISO 400 and f5. Now I was getting a lot of bounce off that reflective material in the ceiling. So what I did is above the flash, I put this black card up there so that I would stop that bounce in the ceiling. So here's my basic setup I've done to go through some portrait lighting with flash. So I'm gonna get in here and so I've got my one flash on camera, and then I put a white card behind it so I can make the light source bigger. And I added a little bit of printer paper, just good old, just white printer paper on top to diffuse a little bit more so I won't have as much shadow. So I'm gonna start off with this, and I'm gonna use this setup for a couple different things. To make my life a little bit easier, my camera is on a self-timer, and then I actually have an app called Control My Nikon, that's on this iPad. And so that way I can kind of see the live view and I can do some self-portraits. In addition to that, what I'm doing here to create my backdrop, my hair light, my rim lighting is I'm just using the doorway. So here is basically a shed. So I'll go outside. My kids are playing in the background, so you might hear them. But so here's my doorway here, and that's giving me my other light sources. So basically my rim lighting, all that kind of stuff. So my end result for 3-point rim was my camera is at ISO 400. My shutter speed's at my actually it's a little wider open than my sync speed. It's at 1/60th to let in a little bit more ambient light. My aperture is at f5, and my flash is at 1/32. So I had to power down my flash quite a bit to balance with this ambient light. Probably because I'm only, if you look at it, I'm only about 4 feet from the camera. So what you see here is I switched out the card by the flash with this long narrow one, and basically I was able to kind of offset the light, so the light's coming more from an angle, so it's not more frontal, but it's a little bit more to the side, a little bit more 3/4. And I'm using that for my high key, and then I'm just kind of keep using the white backdrop here. And the key thing for the high key is that I'm allowing my flash to be a little bit more powerful than normal, so it's just a brighter shot overall. So I just kind of went with the normal exposure for the flash, and then I upped it about a stop and 2/3, and then I get my whole high key set up. For silhouette, everything is pretty simple. My camera's there in front of me. There's no flash on. I'm just using ambient light really for the silhouette part. And what I'm doing here is I have my white piece of foam core behind me. Light's hitting that. It's actually reflecting a little bit off this wall right here too. There's kind of a silver coating here. So I'm getting a partial silhouette with a little bit of fill, which is what I prefer. I think it's a little bit more interesting than just a pure black body. And really simple setup. So here is pretty much classic Rembrandt lighting. Basically, if I'm looking towards the camera, I've got my light source. It's over here to one side at about a 45-degree angle up from the eye. So it's over 3/4 lighting style and then about 45-degree angles up. I'm using pretty much a bare bulb. It does have a reflector, but it's sticking out. It's a fluorescent 100-watt daylight balanced light. I liked this better than the flash because when I had the flash in the hot shoe on the camera, it was going to make life a little bit more difficult to be able to get the light in the right position and make it more dramatic. So the continuous light, because it's detached, was easier. If you have a strobe or you have a flash that you can use detached from the camera, then go ahead and do that. But for me, just the clip light was easiest to work with at home. There is a little bit of fill because I got light bouncing around the room from the windows. In fact, there was so much fill that this window right here, I put a black card in it because I wanted more drama and I wanted the dark side to be more in shadow. So that gives you the classic look. So the classic look is that you have one area that's kind of lit kind of high, and then the other area you've got kind of the triangle of light kind of around the eye socket. And that's pretty much it. It's one of the easiest lighting setups there is because you can do it with one light. Super simple. So here's my low-key situation. Basically my camera's right above me, and then just off the side, the side here, almost like Rembrandt, I've got this light, except for it is the same continuous light. It's got the 100-watt bulb, but I took a cardboard box and I basically made a snoot. So I just duct taped it to the frame. Be careful if you did it with halogen lights, they might catch fire. But with this light, it's a low heat light with being a fluorescent tube light, and it's okay. I gotta monitor it, but it's doing okay. I had to get the light really close because in this environment here, it's a low light situation, but I was able to get it in, and it only really hits one side of my face, my hand, maybe just a tiny bit behind me. But overall, it worked out to give me kind of a moody shot, and I kind of did a moody pose to go with it. I liked the whole setup. It worked really well together. There was too much light coming in the window, so again, I just blocked it with this black card here. Let's see if I can put that back. So too much light coming in the window, so I blocked it with the black card. And yeah, that's the setup. It's fairly simple.